is something that I'm called being tired as a trigger. This one's really not too complicated. It simply means that we confuse our kind of get worse in the beginning. So just be aware of that. And it's the right therapy at the right time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Patrick.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We did that at the same time.
Good morning,
Sorry.
Patrick. Oh, hold on.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We did that at the same.
So look at that. We're double monitoring. Okay. Let's roll the intros and then we'll go ahead and get started.
This podcast contains adult themes and language. The views expressed here are our own opinions and experiences. We are not medical professionals.
In this podcast, we discuss our opinions about mental health, sobriety, addiction, and our pursuit of happiness and peace. This is Sober Mind.
All right. Let's get this show going.
Whoop, whoop.
Happy Saturday. It's been an eventful week.
It has.
Hey, I just want to give a quick update before we get started. I've had some people that have said, John, whatever you're going through, I hope you're okay, because I've given updates on my YouTube shorts about my dramatic life event. I can't share any details. It's something that's very private right now, but I can assure you it is not health related at all. I'm very healthy, very happy, doing great. So more to come later on. I'm not trying to keep anyone in suspense. That's not what it was about. My intention was, when I started those, was to just give an update on how I was finding myself dealing with life events in a very positive way. So I'm doing good. Good morning, Ed.
Good morning, Michelle.
All right.
Morning, Patrick. How are you?
Yeah, Patrick, my dear friend. Sorry, I got distracted. I'll do my intros. Good morning, love. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing really well.
Good.
Except I gashed my head open doing a home project yesterday, but that's okay. Patrick, my dear friend, how are you?
Good. I'm in Hobbiton now.
Yeah.
I always look forward to these shows.
Yes, me too. For those of you that may have not caught last week's episode, we are no longer doing the Sober Mind Rewind on Tuesdays as a regular show. We're going to do it on demand. So we were finding that Tuesdays are kind of a rough day to start this stuff, and our energy still just isn't there. And if we don't have anything to talk about, we're not holding true to what the rewind was for. The rewind is for catching up on the stuff that gets left over from this Saturday's episode. So that's
Director's cut edition stuff.
Director's
Not
cut.
Yeah.
all of it. It's the
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll let listeners know that, we're going to have a Tuesday rewind this Saturday before, so that people know to tune in.
Yep. Okay. Hobbit out, intro out, and Stream Beats by Harris Heller. Not sponsored, just free. It's got some ambient music going in the background. Okay. We're going to get in, continue our series with Patrick Teehan, the LICSW, licensed independent
Child social worker.
children's
social worker.
Yeah. Check him out on YouTube, Patrick Teehan, Teahan. Probably one of the most, I was going to say unbiased, but that wouldn't be realistic. He is, in my opinion, pretty spot on with a lot of his analysis of behavior stuff. Sounds like he went through a lot of it too. I haven't watched a ton of his videos yet, but I've started to go through them. But as a reminder, we've been going through the 11 oddly specific childhood trauma issues, and so far they've all really related to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last week we did number 3, which was refrigerator buzz depression. As a quick recap, it basically means that refrigerator buzz, your refrigerator has been in your house for years. It's buzzing. You've never noticed it until you unplug it. Then you're like, oh man.
I didn't realize. Has that been buzzing the whole time?
Yeah. So Judy wants to we're going to do a quick recap. Judy wanted to talk about some stuff that unfolded after last week's. I'll go ahead and get started. And then today, the one that I'm excited about is titled, Do I Just Need to Go to Bed? I think we've all been there before. I catch myself in that too. Mine is very dramatic, especially as I get older. You all know that I've struggled with depression and anxiety, and it's my continued life journey. But there are times when I catch myself, and Judy catches me, like, whatever the hell I'm feeling could be solved, like with a 45-minute nap sometimes.
Do you need to just go lie down?
Yeah, or if I've had a long day, the mental exhaustion just sometimes creeps in, and it's like, yeah, maybe you're not a failure, maybe you're not this, that, and all the stuff we have that gets up into our heads can be cured with some rest. Coincidentally, us alcoholics never got that proper rest that our anxious minds needed. So it was a constant whirlwind. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you want me to start before you jump in?
No, I can jump right in.
Jump in.
Okay, so the refrigerator buzz depression was one of those things that really, after we'd done the show and I sat and I thought about it, it brought up a lot of stuff for me that I didn't realize was there until I sat and thought about it and thought, man, I felt those things when I was young. I've been feeling those things for a long time, not even realizing that those things were in my environment the whole time. And it was really kind of a revelation for me that, you know, I had been going through these things for, since I was in grade school. And, you know, didn't even realize it. And it was one of those things that just kind of popped into my head, and just one of those light bulbs that went on and you know, above my head and made me think about, wow, I can't, you know, I didn't even realize I didn't even realize the refrigerator was buzzing that whole time. And it had been buzzing that whole time. And I had no clue. But it's nice to know that, you know, some of the things that I was going through when I was a kid was because of a low level depression that was going on in my life. And it wasn't just because I was, you know, there was something wrong with me. Well, I mean, there was the depression, but there was nothing, you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense to me.
It's interesting when you pair that up with the two previous items that he talked about. One was the delayed reaction.
Yeah.
And then the other was the hyper awareness. So in life, we have these big emotional swings, ebbs and flows, ups and downs. And eventually, you know, most of the time, you know, the idea is to sit at an equilibrium where you're at an even level and you're just kind of like riding the wave, right?
Yeah. Homeostasis.
Well, when you're delayed and you have hyperactivity and hyper awareness, you have those big highs, big peaks and valleys, and it's delayed. So your orientation for center is really disoriented. My point is, like, by the time you're not like hitting those extreme peaks and valleys, when you're sitting there at like not so extreme, you're like, okay, this is normal. When in fact you are way off base, you're sitting with that low level depression, you know, that buzz, and you're just like, okay, it's not as bad as it was. So your mind like equates that as like, oh, well, I guess this is the middle ground.
Yeah, my normal is that low level depression. Well, that's just my normal. This is just the way I am, I guess. Okay.
That's this constant struggle. That, I know that sounds, you know, I'm gonna quit apologizing for my words. With my last psychiatrist visit and this upcoming one, I'm going to say the same thing to her, because I realized, Patrick, exactly to your point, when I'm doing the medication management right now, and as we discovered that whole PTSD thing that I'm dealing with, when she asks, and I've been seeing her for over a year and a half now, crazy, still getting everything dialed in. And when she asks how I'm doing, for anyone out there that's thinking about seeing a psychiatrist, not a therapist, completely different things, make sure that you're able to articulate properly what you're feeling. That is easier said than done, because that's the only tool that a psychiatrist has. So if you say, I'm feeling this and I'm feeling that, they're going to respond with another set of questions. So what I've learned is I try not to go into my monthly meeting with how I'm feeling exactly at that moment. I try to practice bundling my thoughts of how I've been feeling as of late. So that way she's got a more succinct way to be objective. Not, I woke up and I stepped on a Lego or something, and so now I'm pissed off. And she's like, well, so we need to figure, you know, that's not exactly how I am.
that's a feat in itself, John. We
Yeah.
spent most of our life like being in, we are our emotions at that moment. And it's
Yeah.
hard to realize that, again, the difference between I am angry and I feel angry, right?
Right. So where I was going with that in a long way was I figured out that I was able to tell her during the last visit when she asked how I was doing towards the end. I said, "Doctor, I feel good. I've got a sense of happiness. I've got a libido that's back." For you males out there and females, this when you go on medication management and or you're just struggling with depression, libido is a thing that has a revolving impact on you as well. If you don't have a good sex life and you're depressed, then it's just all the stuff that goes all together. So anyway, what I ended up telling her was, "Doctor, I don't know where the hell my baseline is. I could tell you that I feel good, but can I feel better? I don't want to walk around high all day." Well, actually, who doesn't? That'd be legit if it was natural somehow. But I kid. I feel good. I feel productive. I sleep well. I'm happy. I have good emotional control. I have. I think I'm heading down the right path, but we owe it to ourselves to challenge and say, where is that baseline? Back to the refrigerator buzz depression. I didn't realize
That your baseline was actually a depression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My happiness in the last 20 years, the baseline has been always a low or mid or high level of depression. And because that's what we've known for so long.
Mm-hmm.
And the only sense of happiness that we get as alcoholics is the dopamine release that comes with the ritual of even thinking about cracking open a beer.
Yeah. Or as addicts, the ritual of sparking up the lighter to toke a bong or a joint or something.
Yeah. As we started talking about the refrigerator buzz depression, Patrick, I was driving down the road the other day. I can't remember what I was doing. I think I went to Home Depot. And I was feeling a low level of depression, which I'm very cognizant of since I'm on, rebounding from that long-term depression that I was feeling. And I was at a stoplight and I really thought about how I was feeling. And then I found another tool set within myself, and that was, have I ever felt like this before? When I say before, I mean not in the last couple of weeks or since I've been sober, but in the last 30, 40 years. And I realized that I did. I felt like that a lot. When we got back from Kuwait, when I got out of the Army, I was actually sober for a good stint. And I realized then that I was feeling that exact same way that I was the other day. And that is this low-level depression and social ineptitude. It was like sometimes I have a hard time navigating myself. It's really strange. I'm getting much better at it now. I think if I was still drinking, that navigation would just continue to be declining.
I think now we're more aware of it. We're paying more attention to it. Before, I would not look internal. My view was always external. I was constantly looking outside for any kind of emotion, for happiness, for sadness, for joy, for serenity, peace, whatever. My vision was always external. It was never internal. And now, since we've been doing our work and we've been sober, the view is definitely more internal. So we're more aware of our emotional fluxes that are happening in our day-to-day life.
Yeah. Agree wholeheartedly. Patrick, do you want to talk about anything from the last episode? Anything you want to recap?
No, I mean, other than, I've had very similar reflections and I'm very proud of both of you. We speak to, the addict not being wanted to be in their current state and always seeking, elsewhere, and Judy, just, either whether it's artificial, through chemical means, or seeking validation through others, the hardest journey is turning inward.
Yeah.
And it just begins with awareness. And, that's, it's real big steps there to be able to just raise awareness and go inward. You don't have to, that's not going to solve your problems immediately, but John, you gave insight how you're like, did I feel like this before? And you realized, oh yes, right? That step in itself is really big on this journey. So kudos.
Thank you. Okay, let's
move on.
Yeah, let's get into do I just need to go to bed? This is a pretty short one, so we're gonna watch that, and then we'll see what kind of conversation it sparks. Oh man, that was perfect timing. That song ended.
Perfect.
Michelle asks, John, do you write about how you're feeling so you can share with your psychiatrist? Yes, Michelle. Especially when I was doing medication adjustment, I would write sometimes an hourly and a daily journal until I got normalized. Now, I wake up super early, so usually my meeting with her is around 8 a.m. So if I'm up at like 4 to 5, I make sure that I take down some good notes so I'm able to talk to her, because the sessions are only 15 minutes. Again, it's not therapy, but yeah, that's a good question. I want to make sure I've got some succinct talking points. All right. Patrick came over to my house the other day, and we did some audio dialing in with the Rode Rodecaster Pro 2. There's a lot of settings. I think I impressed Patrick a little bit because he came over and he's like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that in his mind's eye, he's like, this buffoon has something out of whack.
I don't think so.
Patrick was here for quite a while.
Well, I appreciate that. I thought you were just setting me up, so if this goes wrong at this point, it's on me now. So I can torch you.
Yeah, I think we're good. We should have no echoes in the recording, in the stream, blah, blah, blah. If so, we'll figure it out later. Life will not end. Okay. Patrick, you were still hearing the background music there, so I don't need to dial you in for any other settings. So, all right, here we go.
Kind of get worse in the beginning. So just be aware of that. And it's the right therapy at the right time. Moving on, related to depression, is something that I'm called being tired as a trigger. This one's really not too complicated. It simply means that we confuse our natural body's reaction to being tired for depression or failing. Like getting tired is a bummer for us. Childhood trauma survivors can be addicted to productivity or being on a mission. There's lots of overlap here with ADHD as another reminder of that. And we can confuse being tired for failing, like not being good enough, or it's again a feeling like we might be abandoned if we're not up or something like that. So where this might come from childhood trauma, neglected kids get attached to coping. And they aren't parented around basic things like going to bed or taking care of themselves. We can unconsciously also associate with going to bed to being alone or being abandoned, like going to bed was when we really felt the most disconnected in our day. Being tired can trigger us to feeling sad, so we try to keep the party going a little bit. Like anytime we come back into our body and being tired will do that, we might get triggered to that because now we're going to have to feel things. Another is the hypervigilant trauma brain does not like rest because we can't be vigilant when we're resting. Another idea is the inner child might fear of missing out or FOMO about kind of going to bed or being tired. So some treatment ideas on this one is really simple, is to connect with your inner child, like again with this dialoguing tool, and ask them why getting tired might be a bummer for them. What does it mean? What do they feel like they're missing out on? What is it? Does it make them feel a little bit sad or disconnected? So the inner adult can do some work around better sleep hygiene, such as doing some somatic mindfulness around reclaiming the idea that being tired is such an okay and natural thing, and it's about our body communicating with us, while the trauma brain is stepping in to say, "Oh no, it's not about, it's about something else. I don't want to feel tired." Moving on to number 5 is something that.
I got 100% association with all of that. It's nice to hear him talk about it, though, for sure. Like I said in the beginning, sometimes I just need to take I'm getting much better with it now. I just catch myself and say, you know what? I did it this morning. I woke up super early because our new adopted Pitador, Oswald Cornelius Lund, Ozzy for short. He's an awesome dog, but he's a 1-year-old pup who's been locked up. And so he woke me up, and then I took him on a 5K, and I got back, and I was super tired. I was wandering around Home Depot getting parts, and I just told myself right then and there, I'm like, I need to go home and take a nap before we start the stream because I'm a wreck. I used to not do that. I used to not have that awareness. I would have said, you know what, I'm going to go home, eat something, and crack open a beer. That'll give me some energy.
Yeah.
But Patrick, your thoughts on that?
I mean, we've talked about it before, that HALT is a cornerstone of early sobriety. So stopping to pause to see if you're hungry, angry, lonely, or tired is important. And as a father of a 8-year-old and a 5-year-old right now, you know, it still amazes me. Like, you know, when you have a small child and they're just like crying and you're like, oh, they're, you know, they miss their nap. It's nap time. It's really apparent when that happens, because you can just see the temper tantrum and the emotions just kind of flow and everything. But it's surprising to me, like, how easily forgotten that is some days. You know, the first day that my son went to kindergarten comes off. Well, he didn't even make it off the bus. He passed out on the bus, you know, on the ride back home. And, you know, for the first 6 months dealing with emotions after school because of the just fatigue that they have for focusing so long and having emotional control during the day is very apparent. And what I'm trying to say is, like, there are times we get so caught up in our thoughts and everything that we want to think our way through, and it's always a return to body. It is always a return to body. And, you know, being tired, it doesn't change. You think I graduated kindergarten, I mastered my emotions, or, you know, I went through middle school, dealt with all the some of the shitty behavior that I had to deal with my peers, or even high school, college. I am a 42-year-old adult, and there are times in the evening where I have to sit back and reflect before I'm like, you know, getting cranky that, hey, you're tired.
Yeah.
Let's begin to wind this down. There's no escape to it, and it's on a daily basis.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we catch ourselves more and more doing the internal reflection of that. I know that sounds super boring and very textbook, but I do have to stop myself when I'm getting outside of a current mood. You know, yesterday when I was working in the shop and we were doing this stuff and I started to get a little bit frustrated with something, I had to just give myself a minute to analyze what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
What's up with my surroundings? What's up with my physical state? What can I do to do a little reset, or do I just need to stop? Am I getting ready to go down? We're doing some really detailed trim work. Michelle, wait till you see this. We removed 3 walls. So when you're sitting in the den, now you can see up into the kitchen. We're putting a cable rail up there, but we essentially had to reframe the entire thing, and now we're doing the trim. And doing the trim, everyone that does construction knows that it's sort of an art project because you're figuring it out as you go.
Upside down and backwards.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I caught myself yesterday. It's like, all right, stop. I'm just starting to rush and just starting to throw shit on there. And we started to do that. I'll just put wood filler in it. It's like, hold on. Stop. That's my other thing too that I've talked about. I think that's the ADHD thing that's constantly creeping in there, Patrick, is like, I got to get it done. Rushing to nowhere
rushing
that
to
we watched
nowhere.
on the other one.
The urgency. Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
just stop and go, what? I got plenty of time to get this done. Just it'll be here tomorrow. And
Yeah.
otherwise we'll do like I've done before. I finished massive project and then had to get up the next week and tear that whole damn thing apart and start over because I just was rushing to get it done.
Yeah.
The sense of FOMO really hit hard with me because we're talking about the urgency, and I even see it in my son too. You know, he's sitting here playing Legos in the evening and like, all right, it's time to wind down, let's pick up, and then just the wheels come off, right?
Mhm.
No, I'm doing this, and I had to sit and explain, well, the Legos will be here tomorrow, we're not under any guise to get this done tonight. You know, and I'm very much the same way. Like if I'm focused on a task, you know, if I'm failing it or feel like I'm close to coming to an end, I always have an excuse to try and keep pushing. And that surprises me to the point that we as a society and people are so outcome driven, and our value is not we tie our value to only if you're contributing an output all the time, that it is written into us such a point that we will ignore our most basic biological instincts. You are not worthy. You are not creating output. We even have funny sayings around this. You can sleep when you're dead. Ha 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 ha.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's the fact that that's like a joke or a sarcastic side, sleep when you're dead, but that is really some of the intent on some people when they push wearing overwork and lack of availability as a sense of pride.
Mm-hmm.
I'm only outputting. I'm disregarding any of my biological needs.
I'm
And that
not letting
includes
grass
one of
grow
the-
under my feet.
Right. But I mean, your body needs to rest. That's a fundamental
Yes.
point.
Michelle said, I think it's partly about giving yourself permission to go to bed. And I agree. It's partly about giving yourself permission to rest, permission to stop and just take a few minutes and just stop everything and just rest. I mean, when we in the middle, if we sit down and take a nap or something, and it's only, anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes, sometimes I don't go to sleep. I just meditate that whole time. But just that stopping and meditating and focusing on one thing, or just allowing my brain to kind of drift off, when I come back from that, I am recharged and ready to go.
Tools of self-care. I remember early in quarantine, getting used to the working from home schedule. I had a day that was filled full of tickets where I was immediately engaged, where I was just trying to churn through stuff. And it was like it was the kids were home, but they were, if the spring finally broke and they were outside playing, it was something like 2 p.m. And I remember I actually just snuck out at 2 p.m. It was a break in the day. I had other stuff lined up. I had no meetings. So I was like, I'm just going to take a quick nap. And I napped for 45 minutes. And I felt so incredibly guilty for that first time. And it was so bizarre to me because it was like, why are you feeling guilty? The work is there. It's right around the corner. It's not on any time frame. And the fact that we're so technologically interwoven now that I can pick it up at any point and still get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And my kids were engaged. They were playing. I wasn't. There was no need for me to feel guilty. I understand part of that is me, but I'm trying to just impress the point of how fundamentally written some of these behaviors are into us, just personally, individually, and in society with behaviors.
It's punching that time clock and getting as much done in that specific amount of time as you can.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, Patrick, because there's been plenty of times where I've had to take a mental health day from work, but I don't. During the majority of that mental health day, I'm building up anxiety because I'm feeling guilty. I can't rest. I can't recharge and relax
Yeah.
and refocus. I can now. I take that back. I'm doing a lot better with it because 9-10 months ago, I really started developing the art of not giving a fuck. It does.
Yeah, that's a good book too.
Yeah, it does take a lot of practice, but once I was able to get to the point to where I truly understood that, if the doctor told me tomorrow that I have a life-threatening illness, what's all the shit that really mattered in my life? Is it this boss that I have, or is it this project that I'm trying to do? No, none of that shit matters. None of it is tangible. It's all in a shattered realm of perspective that I think we all constantly lose sight of. We get wrapped up in it. Of, you were there in the corporate environment.
Mm-hmm.
Just we have this herd mentality, and then like you were saying, Patrick, that that ingrained process of this is my value, this is my worth.
My productivity is my worth.
Yeah, I know a ton of people that define themselves by their job.
Yep. Those were the people I looked up to, that I sought validation from too, as mentors and role models. Not just they were their job, they were their work ethic too, right? I completely ignored, I work 12 hours a day, and I ignore all sense of other obligations, and I sacrifice everything for that. And I remember the first time coming up against that mentality is when I realized, life does operate in ebbs and flows, and there are times that I love being able to sit down and focus and contribute for long durations, quote unquote, go into beast mode and get work done. But in the same breath, you can't run at 150% all the time. Like I said, it's like driving down the street with your car on nitrous oxide. You can't, it's for quarter-mile shots, right? And then you do it sparingly. If you're giving that much effort, then there has to be an equal response of either time off and space and investment personally to recover that, right? That's where I am the most effective. So that way I can build tool sets. I can develop myself emotionally and behaviorally, and with other education and intelligence. So that way, when the next threshold comes to push 150%, I am well rested. I'm focused. I have a new toolkit. I have a whole bunch of other skills to contribute, and that just kind of goes back and forth like that. But that has to be with cycles of rest in there. For the longevity to happen, you have to build that in.
Yes. In our corporate world that we live in, though, there's a wild level of hypocrisy that comes with that too. Because Patrick, I've heard it for 22 years of, when you relax, disconnect when you get off, but blah, 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 blah. That's bullshit, because I hear the sad souls and sacks of empty despair you hear them talking like, oh, I was up till 9 o'clock answering emails, or, hey, John, I sent you an email last night. Did you get it? No, I'm, again, if I were to die tomorrow, I'm not laying on my deathbed going, good thing I checked my fucking phone and saw that email of some bullshit, nonsensical, made up deadline that doesn't exist. And
the buzzwords, we need you to circle back on this action item.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm not going to start down that path.
Yeah.
I hear you. There's portions of my job where I'm on call, and in my previous jobs that were let's just say less privileged, the managers are staff would be like, well, since you're on call and not doing anything, I'm going to give you these tasks to take care of, that's your housekeeping items. And then they get mad at you when they don't complete it. And I remember pushing back one day, and I'm saying, if the value of being on call is being available, that's where the value is my ability to respond to situations in the moment. Sometimes they may not show up. Sometimes they may, and there will be a lot of them. The point is not to feel that, we also have terms like hands full both ways, in and out of the kitchen. Time to lean is time to clean, where we're packing productivity in every single moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where you can sleep when you're dead is even more absurd, because it feels like any downtime or available time is not contributing and therefore negative, and has a requirement to be filled with productivity.
Yeah.
And I'm even going to argue here, you don't even have to say it is for rest. There is time for inactivity as well. Rest doesn't have to include I'm putting my head down and I'm sleeping. Sometimes it may be walking out and just enjoying the sun and feeling the breeze, and not having to give a fuck if you are responding to that action item on that bullshit email in a timely manner, because hey, an hour from now, it's still going to be there. That whole chain is, you can respond in a timely manner with a clear mindset, or learning to find space I'm trying to find a word for it. I don't want to call it the negative space, but the space in between moments doesn't have to be filled. It's totally appropriate as it is. And those were really scary as addicts, because what did we do when we were either bored or didn't know if we were in a state of like, if we were sleeping, we could know that we were sleeping. But what did we do with those spaces that were open like that if we weren't contributing?
We drank.
We drank. We smoked.
Yeah.
We filled it with something.
Yep. Because we weren't comfortable. I mean, for me, I wasn't comfortable in those spaces, because you're right. I was taught that, when you're just sitting around not doing anything, well, there's dishes to be done. There's laundry to be done. There's, bathrooms to be clean. There's garbage to be taken out. There's always something to be done. So since you're just sitting there, you can get up and go do this, or you can get up and go do that. So that was just, that's how we were taught as well. So yeah, those spaces of just sitting there and not doing anything, or those silent spaces. Yeah. Grab a beer.
Man,
grab a joint.
You dropped one on me that was just a knife to the heart. Since you're just sitting there.
Yeah, since you're just sitting there.
Since you're just sitting there being invalid and not contributing,
Yeah.
It's like, let's finish that sentence. Holy fuck.
Because you're just sitting there and being worthless. Why don't you go make yourself worthful?
Do you feel that way about me sometimes?
No, goodness, no.
Are you sure? If I'm sitting in here doing something, you come by, you're like, hey, would you mind taking out the trash?
No. No, the reason why I ask you that is because I'm doing 5 other things and I'd like the trash to be taken out. That's the only reason I ask you to do that.
Oh, shit. That's an important one that you bring up, John. I have those feelings a lot too. If I'm in a state of cleaning, I personally get a state of distress when there are items out of order. Right?
I do
Part
too.
of that comes from, so if stuff is in their place, that's a form of self-care, in my opinion. Like, we're taking care of the item so we know when to retrieve it, or it's in order when we need to. It's a less stress. It's a knowing the future, right? When I pick an item up, it's in the state that I expect it to be, type of thing. And same with my surroundings. There's a feng shui to it. But of course, with a household of 5 and an 8-year-old and 2 dogs and 2 cats, and my wife and I both work at home, so we are very living at home. It gets frustrating sometimes if I am in a state of like that cleanliness, or am I in a mode of cleaning, and I feel like the rest of my family is not in that same state, and they're not meeting me there. And it takes me a moment to realize, like, hey, this is my state right now. If I need help or assistance, or need to articulate the importance of having certain things in order, I need to take the time and explain and vocalize that, and provide space for them to, meet me there. I can't just go around I've talked about it many times, being out in the yard, just punching the leaves into the bag, or, pulling out the trash can and just doing one of those, the classic Midwestern where you're just like, making sound effects, all grunty through the house. It's like, if you need to say something, just say it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, ours was always, well, can't you just, you see it's full, why can't you just assume that it needs to be taken out and just do it? Why do I have to ask
you? A mind reader.
Yeah. Yeah. Why do I have to ask you to do it when you see it's full? Just take it out. You see the laundry needs to be done. Why don't you just do it?
I remember getting back from college and responding back to my parents about the trash can. I was like, because you didn't win the trash stack game yet. As a male in your early 20s, there comes at a certain point that you learn that a trash is not full until the first piece falls off, and when it does, then it's your responsibility to take it out. That's not a very good way.
Yeah. The tube of toothpaste is never really empty.
You can always get just a little bit more. Just
Right.
a little bit more.
Yeah. Hey, you're really good about that though. The Patrick rampage of going to clean the house, like when we have an in-law visiting. Michelle,
Oh.
by the yeah.
It's spring cleaning before an in-law comes.
Yeah. You let me stay out of your way, and you have at it, so I appreciate that. But yeah, Michelle says the art of trash balancing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, Michelle,
It's like Jenga with trash.
yeah, Michelle, that's my my deep clean verbiage is, babe, clean the house like Michelle's visiting.
Like Aunt Kathy's
Oh
visiting.
yeah, like Aunt Kathy. It's like, Jesus. 2-day affair. But yeah. So I think to circle that whole conversation is give ourselves time to just to give ourselves time. Give ourselves
Yeah.
time to give ourselves time and analyze how you're feeling and take a break. We always say it. Be kind to yourself. And Patrick, what you said really resonates too about you took the nap and you felt guilty. Matt, guilt is one of those emotions that's, how can you stop feeling guilty? It takes a lot of practice.
I got just a quick little side note. Okay, so I volunteer I volunteer, and it's only 2 days a month, so it's not a lot. But I couldn't go in because I was trying to adjust to my medication, and I was like super foggy and couldn't focus, and I was a mess, and I was going to be a mess if I went in to volunteer. So I called in and said I wasn't going to be there. It's not even a paying job, and I felt guilty because I wasn't going in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
when. Go ahead, Patrick.
I was gonna say, guilt happens when we fail to meet expectations of our identity.
Yeah.
Meaning, I need to be here because I am X person. I need to be outputting because I'm a valuable member of society and I contribute on a regular basis. When I don't contribute, that means I am not a valuable member of society.
Yeah.
And your mind, plays that guilt, that it's a fear of failure for your expectations or your identity that you're fulfilling or not fulfilling.
Yeah. I just had to tell myself, you know what? I am fine. I am okay if I don't go in because I'm not going to be worth, anything if I do go in, and it's okay not to go in because you're adjusting. You're trying to work through this. It's totally fine. It doesn't mean I'm less of a person for not going in.
Yeah. I agree. I didn't want to do a but then when I have those, I'll, you sit down and then your inner dialogue takes over and it's like, dude, what are you doing? It's like, hey, shut up.
Your inner critic.
Yeah. Shut the fuck up. I'm trying to relax about this. So,
Yeah.
hey, what else do we have to talk about? Because I wanted to shift gears real quick, and this is okay. We can make this go ahead, Patrick.
I had one thing, he talked about several things to help remedy this or mitigate and take care of this to grow in the skill set. I have one that I would like to contribute that he didn't review is a bedtime routine. And this is not in an effort to make yourself fall asleep. It is in an effort to provide space for you to validate the work that you did in the day or not work that you did in the day is completely valid. Meaning, provide space to either meditate, to wind down, to return to body is okay and warranted.
Yeah.
Reading a book, taking the time, I am very guilty. There's that word again. But I break this a lot, but having electronics in bed, watching my iPad or whatever. But I am the most well rested when I have that space, either to take a brief yoga salutation or take time to read with my kids, and just the routine of bringing just no matter how hectic the day was, you're living in your body at the moment, and let's give a chance to return to that and enjoy that.
Yeah, it's a fantastic routine. It's a fantastic routine.
Yeah, I love our night times.
Yeah, we just I've got my Kindle out, so I'm in a book and he's looking on his phone, and we've got the dogs laying all around us. Nothing but dogs and legs. It's all it is. But it's comfort. It's
a wonderful gift to future self too.
Yeah. And just to allow yourself to wind down and know that this is okay. This is the right thing to do.
Yep.
You and I talked about this before. I know the reason we enjoy it so much is because we missed it for so many years. It's not when you're going to bed.
Nighttime routine was mashing that gas pedal and drinking until it was
blackout.
time to. Yep.
Or the worst was like the worst was a Sunday night where you're like teetering on. For me, it was teetering on the brink of I'm drunk, but not too drunk to go to work. But then you just have I would have horribly non-restful sleep.
Yeah. Those nights I would just crash because anxiety was coursing through my veins all day long, and I was just fatigued to that point where it's just like I was forced to sleep, and it was never good restful sleep. You wake up, it's not quite as anxiety inducing as waking up with a hangover, but it's a different type of anxiety, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because that you didn't get a good night's sleep. Yeah, I would know that I didn't get a good night's sleep, so I knew that day I was not going to perform. I was not going to function well because I didn't sleep well the night before.
Yeah. Then driving to work, all of a sudden now super tired, like you could pass out, like for sleep, and maybe there's a lingering beer odor on your breath still, especially after a 3 or 4 day weekend. Then you start to get
that first bead of sweat comes down, and you're like, wait, can you smell the booze on that?
Yeah.
The
flop sweats start, and you're like, oh shit.
I remember one time it was a 4th of July, and I had to work the next day in a pediatric office. And I remember trying to book an appointment and having to get up and say, excuse me for 1 second, and go into the bathroom and throw up and then come back out and finish the appointment because I was so hungover. It was horrible. I'm sure you could have smelled the booze 10 feet away from me. Yeah.
Man, those are the worst. I like talking about this stuff. It's always a good reminder. Thousands of times I told myself, dude, take it easy. Just moderate. You got it. This is too much drinking on the weekends, man.
Monday's hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
Returning, and I'm gonna say some maybe extreme things, but returning to the grind to submit to some of the shitty things that we have set up in our work culture, to get mentally prepared, to have the fortitude to work through that, and get your mind right. I shouldn't say get your mind right, get your mind in a space where you can handle that as with some emotional intelligence. It's hard enough as it is, but when you put yourself in the hole and you're a couple steps behind because putting your pants on in the morning was a struggle, and like you said, you get the flop sweats just from driving into work, and it's a shitty game of domino setup.
Yeah.
It's all just cascading out of control before the week has even started.
Yeah. Or you're still drunk from the night before. Yeah.
Yep,
so
carrying
many
the dog.
Yep, so many Mondays I would come home, but like, oh boy, I gotta ease back into some sense of normalcy here. Like 5 or 6 beers on a Monday night was nothing. Just to finally I could relax.
Mm-hmm.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's amazing that even we know then that rest was the cure, the one thing that we would need. So look at the weekly cycle, and I think we've talked about this before. Monday, you're rolling in a couple steps behind. So Monday's immediately shit because you're just recalibrating. Tuesday, you're kind of getting your feet back under you. And so maybe Tuesday afternoon, you kind of feel a groove going. Wednesday, you hit the doldrums and maybe you can get some work. And then Thursday's coming, you're already looking towards the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And, so you're possibly stacking it on Thursday. I know.
Oh, definitely stacking it on Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there goes, and Fridays, like, I just have to be here type of thing, or like show that I'm present and I get counted for effort type of commit. And so maybe you have a day and a half or 2 days where you're wholeheartedly either, I shouldn't say fully rested, but I mean, at least, but that's what, not even 2 whole days out of 7 that you're just like, and then you start it all over again on the weekend, not giving yourself the rest. No wonder it took months for us to, like they say the first year of sobriety is your body healing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that includes rest, just learning how to rest.
Yeah, it's amazing how when we stopped drinking, the sleep that we got was just phenomenal. It was like teenage sleep. You sleep until noon type of stuff. I mean, we didn't, but it was just that deep, deep sleep that we hadn't had for years.
Yep.
Yeah. It's amazing to hear people talk about it, Patrick. Like, you're, 8, 9 years younger than us, and you were doing the same thing. Exact same pattern that we all did. But Michelle, I got to coordinate with you because soon I'd like to have Guy on here. Guy is Michelle's husband. Patrick, if you think you drank or you knew someone that drank, we are but child in a.
Yep.
Oh my God, Guy would just pound the whiskey. I'll leave the stories for him, but his hangovers on the Monday mornings were having full-blown fish out of water seizures in the shower. And yeah, it's just bad news. But he's the one that inspired me for sure. Inspired us,
Yeah.
I think. I remember telling Michelle there's no way he can stay sober for more than 2 months. There's just no way.
And he's working on 9 years.
Yeah, because next year I think is his 10 year. So because Michelle said she's got to be there for that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what I would like to do real quick before we wrap this day up, because Judy and I have a ton of stuff to do. But I love our Saturdays. I love being able to do this. Patrick, I'm really starting to get a sense of, I don't know, in the beginning, I will reach out to him, Michelle, for sure. I liked, getting on here on Saturdays and talking. Now I really feel like we're just getting together talking about stuff. Feels nice. I think we've got a good community. Man, we got 267 subscribers, getting almost 90,000 views. And it's not for all of that, but good segue is that in the mornings, a lot of the times I post a YouTube short, which is my 15-second quick mental health update or something. And if you guys don't mind, the one I posted today, I want to read some comments about because it was really cool. I made a quick short, which was titled 20 Months of Sobriety, which congratulations to Judy and I, 20 months. And I basically said, 20 years of heavy drink. It was actually 30 years of heavy drinking. I don't know where I ended on the 20 years, but it was 30. And I basically said, this side of sobriety on this side of life is a much better place to be. So like within the first 20 minutes, I love it when these things happen, Patrick. I was telling you about the algorithm, like 1.4 thousand people viewed it in like 25 minutes, but the comments on there were, I'm not going to read them all. This is the most comments I've ever got on any short. This one I thought was pretty intriguing. My wife will be released from a 120-day treatment center on May 15th. I'm going to save this to show her that sober is possible. I hope she does as well as you. Thank you for posting this.
Who's it posted from?
Kevin Costello, 1563.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Man, could you imagine that one? That really caught me for a minute. Like, dang, I would hate to have to, for myself, for you, have been in a treatment. Kudos for her for doing that.
And we wish your wife the best of luck.
And we don't know, if it was alcohol or what. I'm assuming alcohol treatment is not 120 days, so, or I don't know. There could be other problems, but good for you all for taking that step. Then there's just a bunch of congratulations, brother. Super proud of you. Keep it up. Let's fucking go. 5 exclamation marks. When someone puts 5, that means they're serious about it. And then we started getting into a bunch of the other ones. Oh, there's one on here. I wish I could say the same for pornography. Thanks.
Addiction is addiction.
Yeah. Awesome. 10 years sober from opiates. Keep fighting the good fight, brother.
Good for him.
Yeah, opiates is a strong one. 11 years, April 1st.
Woohoo.
Really, it's just 4,015 days. If you live to see 80, that's 29,200 days. Anyway, a bunch of other comments in there. And then I caught a bunch more of, I've been sober for 7 years, been sober for 9 years, and my life is still miserable. It's interesting that those still pop through, Patrick, right? And we talked about that before. So easier said than done. We don't know anybody's life and circumstances. We just know our own. But I know that I was there with you. This is what I talk about on this channel. And that was after my first 2 weeks of sobriety was amazing because I was sleeping and hydrating and feeling good. But then it all went to hell in a handbasket because all the mental health stuff started creeping up, and I had to go get some therapy. So if you've got the resources, try to get into some talk therapy, or if you don't, get into the free stuff. Al-Anon is available. Start with Al-Anon.
Yeah,
we've talked about alcoholics.
AA, Smart Recovery.
Yeah, there's tons of free
quitting literature.
Yep,
they're all out there.
Yeah,
but don't.
Podcasts.
Go ahead, Patrick.
I'm just yelling stuff now.
Don't. I would encourage you to not blame sobriety on your misery, because I'm speaking for myself. I don't think the sobriety is your misery. That's because you've been sober for so long and you lack the tools, like a lot of us do, on how to process that emotion. We all deserve to be super happy, and sobriety is definitely that key. But man, get out there and talk to people and listen to people. Yeah, for sure. AA, fantastic organization. Take what you can from it. You might be in there forever, but just listening to people share their stories, and it's crazy how many addicts and alcoholics are roaming this earth. It's just fucking bizarre. Good job, corporate alcohol corporations. You've done it. You've really done it. By the way, there's no motherfucker that walks down the beach with one Corona in their hand and then just says life is good. That's not how that shit works.
Yeah, with the sobriety portion that you were talking with earlier, definitely a peak cloud came for me too when I was sleeping, drinking water, and eating healthy. Little did I know, like, my Arrested Development was like, oh, hey, look, this motherfucker thinks he's ready to start handling shit. Now, look, I got a 20-year backlog of absolute BS that is ready to be served up. Here you go.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's the fun part. But
Yeah.
for as many people that say sobriety didn't make my life better, you know, I would like to see the people that have been sober and then went back. I would like to hear the people that say that alcohol made my life better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bet that
Not
number's
one.
even smaller. Almost no.
Yep, for sure. So again, if you're listening, we're not saying that, hey, good job on your sobriety, but you
Yeah.
owe it to yourself to go seek some peace and solitude. You're with the risk of sounding crass, you're missing something very important in your life.
Yeah.
Personal development is it's one of those things that the work will always be there. And I don't wake up, and it's not that I have to do the work. It's I get to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
I get to wake up every day and have an item for personal development that I can reflect on me. Again, sobriety does not grant me the keys to heaven and opens up the gates of hell so I could walk out.
Nice.
Love that
we
saying.
get to put in the work on a daily basis, and we get to choose to put it into ourselves.
Yeah. I get to take care of myself instead of I have to take care of myself. Yeah.
I don't have to wake up hungover today.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Keywords.
Well,
Oh,
Guy,
I like that one.
my brother-in-law says I'm stoked to be sober for another day.
Mhm. Patrick, that was the one that got us through when we first started, is we're like, because that was the linchpin of really why we stopped drinking. We've shared it a dozen times about how our hangovers were just getting almost need to go to the hospital for some of them. You know, I'm pretty sure we had alcohol poisoning many times and we just couldn't take it anymore.
Well, like I said, I could feel my liver.
So
Yeah, but that's the one, is the key word there is have to. I'm so thankful that I don't have to wake up hungover anymore. Ed, I think you're taking off. Thank you for the congratulations, and thanks for being here. I will
Thank
talk
you,
to you
Ed.
later. Yeah.
So for me, the drive really came from I struggled at work when I came to a realization that you will never get paid for your value. You know, we are so in our head, you are only valuable if you're creating output. So we always strive for, you know, if you don't like flipping burgers, get a better job, you know, or get a degree, get your certifications. You're not working hard enough. Get more, earn more, put in more time. And the values that we bring to our realms where we show up is, you know, there are items that I show up at work and I can provide space for my peers because of my experience in sobriety, or as a dad, or somebody who learned, or somebody who went through a very similar experience. Basically, it's not my corporate paper bullshit that allows me to contribute at work. It's me as my entirety as a person. There are skills that I need to know for the IT disciplines that I am in, yes, but I will never get paid for the entirety of the value of my being that I am when I show up there. And that was really scary to me, because that means I will not be fully seen. And to that point is to realize that I hung my value on everybody else. I also came to the realization that there is only one person that is able to look out for me and in my entirety. And guess who that person is?
You.
That's me.
Mm-hmm.
That's me. So no matter how many failures I had, or how I thought about myself, you know, like where I wanted to either like die or slash the tires and just light it on fire and leave, or just like wallow in my own self-pity, I realized that there's only one person capable of providing the entirety of what I need.
Yep.
Patrick, I don't think you've ever shared that. I didn't know about that.
It's not for everybody because it's very dark. You know, I really think in a lot of melancholy terms, because for me, there's a lot of beauty in that. As scary as that is, I often ran, the underlying fear that we like to avoid. If once we realize that, oh shit, the only person that can take care of me is me. Oh, I'm going to fuck that up big time. Right. And so we just keep on avoiding and push that off.
Yeah.
But when the tide turns and you become empowered by it and not driven by fear by it, it is an electrical current that just courses through you and permeates every fiber of your being. And it, like I said, it's not for everybody. It's rather dark and melancholy, but like I said, I find a lot of beauty in that. So
It's also a form of enlightenment too. That realization that once you realize that, that once you get that electrical current, that's your enlightenment.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and like you said, there is beauty in the starkness of winter.
Yep. And from that, comes my other sayings is like, I don't own the actions of others. I can't go out there and save everybody. I can't validate them, and I can't make them put down the bottle. I can't make them be a better person. I can't make them do anything really. And that's also very defeating. As grand as we like to think ourselves sometimes, and manipulative or powerful or influential,
In control.
In control. Thank you. That's the real word that I'm looking for. As much as we think that we are in control, we are not. We are so not. And the only person that you can save is you.
But that can also be very liberating.
Yeah. So the best I can do is provide space to others for them to find their own spark.
Yeah.
To become, for their own electricity to become coursing through their veins. And it's going to look so different from mine.
Yep.
And I think that's where part of the beauty comes from, is like, for me is the with no mud, there is no lotus. So I had to crawl through the shit to realize, some of my gifts that I can be able to present. Other people's journeys are going to look so very different, and we get to experience that, if we're lucky to help provide that space.
Without the mud, there is no lotus.
Yep.
It's the new title of this show.
I'm just full of like all sorts of crappy, pithy sayings.
I love it, Patrick.
No, I heard that when I was a kid. Not specifically that specific saying, but the same meaning was that something so beautiful blooms in something so dirty and mucky. It's very much a Buddhist philosophy.
I love it. Patrick, we love you very much, man. Thank you for being a part of our lives.
Yes,
Love
thank you for
as
sharing.
well.
I can't. Sometimes I still reflect on the day that we met out in front of my driveway. If you don't believe in fate, sometimes I don't know, man. The odds.
Very
So many-
serendipitous.
Yeah, so many things have to align for those to make that happen. Okay, let's wrap it up, and I'll do a quick heads up on what we're going to be talking about while we're rolling Patrick's favorite outro music. Okay, we're going to continue on with the Patrick Teehan series, 11 oddly specific childhood trauma issues. So tune in next Saturday for number 5. Chameleon, but don't mix. Certain friends can't know about certain friends. That's interesting.
I can't wait for that one.
Yeah. Well, a lot to talk about. I'm curious to see what Patrick Teehan has to say about that.
Do we have anything for Tuesday?
We're not... Oh, any rewinds? I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm wound. We're good.
Okay.
We're all set. Okay.
Be kind. Please don't rewind.
Yes. Very.
You just dated yourself,
All right, I'm gonna okay, bye.
Yep. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in and watching. Thank you for the support.
Be kind to yourselves.
And
Be patient with yourself. Love yourself. Give yourself time and peace.
Yep. Even when you're super depressed, Judy had an episode this past week, and we got through it.
We did.
Yep.
We did.
You know, Patrick, I jumped in there. I'm like, can't you just downward dog yourself out of it? And you can't. She's like, fuck you, man. No.
Yeah,
No,
that's good to
I
express that.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. Patrick, we'll catch you on the flip side. And bye, y'all.
Bye.